January 30th, 2020, and Calvin Castine at the Lake Forest Senior, what is this?
Retirement community,
Senior
yeah.
Retirement Community. And it seems strange talking to a young person like you at a senior retirement
there you go,
community,
huh?
but
Yeah.
we are anyway.
I know, we are.
Helen Nurska Allen or Helen Allen Nurska?
That's good. The second one's good, yeah.
Second one's good. I can never remember to put them. I always get the Helen part right. But
That's good, yes.
And you are with the Clinton County Historical Association. What's your title?
I'm the director.
The director?
Yes.
So you have to work every day?
I just about.
Is it
Well,
tough?
it's my hobby and my job. Yeah, so, yeah.
And past president and other titles and so on.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
currently
yeah.
you're the director.
Yes,
Well,
currently
we're not at
director.
the Historical Association today. We're at here.
A special
and
presentation.
A special presentation.
We're very excited. She's not quite here yet. Her name is Alexandra Thomas, and she was an intern this fall. And she scanned and identified over 400 glass plate negatives that we had donated from the Frank Pardy collection. And she'll tell you this, and you'll hear it. But what she did was, she's a photographer and a history major.
Uh-huh.
So,
Good
oh
combination.
my gosh, perfect. And she picked out some of her favorite photos because with 400, I mean, and he took a lot of different kinds of photos, and so she's tried to show the different parts of his collection, and mainly she chose her favorites too to talk about. So, and what she could learn about him, and she's coming here now.
Oh, she's going to behind us there.
Yes.
All right. We won't keep you too long because I'm sure you
Okay.
get to.
Yeah.
So you've got 400
Over
photos. They're all
400.
scanned? Is
Yeah,
there a way
they're all
people-
scanned.
Is there a
Yes.
way people can see them?
Somebody should make an appointment with me, and it would be great. We'd show them all to them. Yeah. So they're in our system. Yeah.
Computer system?
Yep, they're in our computer system. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So-
And every once in a while, a postcard will show up on eBay, and it'll
Oh
have
yes.
the Frank Pardy
Yes,
photo
we
from
have Frank
Rouse's
Pardy
Point.
postcards too. Yeah.
So these are.
Yeah, it's amazing, and you'll see from the photos she's chosen the variety of things that he liked to photograph.
Not too much in color, though, is there?
No, nothing in color. It's all
Right.
black and white. Yeah.
'Cause he died, I think, in 35.
Yeah,
So he was
yeah.
late 1800s, early 30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just a great
Yeah.
piece of history that's.
Amazing, and it was his hobby. Donna Racine's here tonight, and you might want to talk to her
Rouse's Point
because
historian?
yes, it was very nice. We worked with her. Alexandra and I went to see her and to see what she had on, because she has a lot on Frank Pardy too. She's the expert kind of.
She's a party girl. So.
And we told her to just, yeah, exactly. And we told her to just, tonight, just chip in if she sees something that.
Oh, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Well, Alexandra wants that too, so she knows. She's going to ask a couple of questions. So.
Yeah, but that's Party with a D, not with a T.
That's right. That's right.
P-A-R-D-Y.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm very much interested in this. Judy is a Rouse's Point girl, so
Yeah.
she's interested in this. I see Donna has brought Ben Arnold with her,
Yep.
and he's a village trustee in Rouse's Point, and he's got a good pile of photos in his own collection.
Yeah, and a lot of people have a lot of lovely Frank Pardy photos. Jerry Favreau, the president of the Clinton County Historical Association, had several albums. And Alexandra looked at those too, and we got some descriptions that she might not have had, because of those albums. So anyway, the story's never complete, is it?
No,
In
no.
history, there's always something pops up, and I'm sure something's going to pop up tonight,
Or they'll cause something to go off.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So always learning something new. Yeah.
about something old.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we'll let you get to work. Thanks
Thank
for talking
you.
to us, Helen.
Okay. So I'm loud anyway, so it's probably too loud. I'm Helen Nurska from the Clinton County Historical Association, and we're here tonight to hear about the Frank Pardy story. Alexandra Thomas was an intern at Clinton County Historical Association in the fall, and she scanned and identified over 400 glass plate negatives that had been donated to us, and had, up until now, we didn't know what they looked like. She worked with Jerry Favreau, who has an album. that had a lot of those photos described, and we used those descriptions for our own record. And we went up and we spoke with Donna Racine, and Donna's here and is going to make sure that we're all in the straight and narrow about this also. And I would like to thank Lake Forest for hosting us again. We try to have a presentation here once a month, and it's a wonderful facility, and we really appreciate their generosity in letting us have this. So now I will turn this over to Alexandra Thomas, and here she is.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexandra Thomas, and tonight I'll be talking to you about Frank Pardy, a photographer and businessman of Rouse's Point, New York. I just want to take a moment to thank you for coming. This presentation is a culmination of my work at the Clinton County Historical Museum, where I interned for the past few months for credit at SUNY Plattsburgh. My internship, as Helen has already told you, consisted of scanning and identifying Frank Pardy's glass plate negatives. During this presentation, I will tell you the story of Frank Pardy. I will use Frank's photos as well as other photographic material to tell Frank's story and the history of the village of Rouse's Point through Frank's eyes. Most of the photos are from Clinton County Historical Museum's Frank Pardy collection, but those that are not are indicated. Can you see? Okay. Can everyone else see? This is Frank, okay, sorry.
It did work about a half an hour ago.
This is Frank Pardy. This is Frank Pardy, a photo that was obviously taken when he was older and was used in his obituary. Frank's parents, Jesse and Lucy, were not originally from Rouse's Point, but Frank was born in Champlain. The earliest consensus that I found put the Pardys in Rouse's Point in the 1870s, when Frank was 15 years old. Next slide, please. So we're going to be talking about Frank's Pardy's family. This is Jesse and Lucy, Frank's parents, sitting in what I believe was their Pearl Street home. Frank was not the Pardys' only child. Sadly, their first child died in infancy and was buried at the Maple Hill Cemetery. Even though Frank was raised as an only child, Frank spent a lot of time with his cousins from his mother's side, the Crooks. In my interview with Donna Racine, she described Frank as being introverted and that he was always wore a hat. Looking through pictures that Frank took, I could see that he stood off in the distance and watched the events unfold. I can relate to that as I'm kind of an introvert myself and like using the camera to hide behind. Frank's parents started a store on Lake Street that would eventually become Frank's. Next slide, please. This is another photo of Lucy. There are many photos of Lucy. There is a couple of Jesse, his father, but most of them are far away, except for the one I showed earlier. Next slide, please. And here's yet another one of Lucy. Next slide. This is Emma Jane Turner, or Dolly, with an unknown child. Frank marries Dolly in 1898. They don't have any children. They live above the store in a 25,000 square feet apartment. The apartment consisted of 11 rooms, a sunroom, and 4 large closets. It sounds very nice. After Lucy died, Frank and Dolly moved into the Pearl Street home. Dolly had 2 brothers, Joseph and John, and 1 sister, Elizabeth. Dolly's parents also unfortunately lost multiple children in infancy. I believe that the couple was influenced by their parents' experiences and decided not to have children. But that does not mean they didn't like children. Dolly dressed conservatively compared to other women of her time and class. but she did have style. Specifically looking at the dress in this photo, as you can see here, the trimming, the nice elegancy. Next slide, please. Dolly was also unusual for her time in that she drove or motored and was mechanically inclined. Dolly also took trips to visit friends and family on her own. As you can see here, this is Dolly, I believe it's Dolly, taking a picture of a man posing for her. And obviously Frank is the one behind the photo, or the camera, taking the picture. Next slide, please. This is a picture of Dolly with the dogs, and it's a great way to illustrate that Dolly had fun. You can see her smile here, watching them.
I mean, who couldn't laugh at that adorableness?
Next slide, please. This image illustrates what I mentioned earlier about Dolly being sociable. Next slide. This is an exterior image of Frank Pardy's store in Rouse's Point on Lake Street. The next slide is a close-up taken by Frank of the window display. Frank and Dolly helped out with the store. The store sold Hampton's magazines, books, stationery, and postcards, featuring images that Frank took himself. Frank had the postcards made in Germany. So this is the close-up shot. Next slide. Another shot of the store here is with a car, probably Pardy's car. Notice the lack of windshield and probably seatbelts. This is an interior shot of the store. This was provided by Don Racine.
You want to go back?
Yeah. I just gotta point out the talking machine here. For the, okay, so we're going to be talking about the events around the village that captured by Frank Pardy. Anything that he found interesting. This is a photo of a fire after the fact. It could have been the Lakeside Printing Building. Rouse's Point Village did not have its own firehouse company until 1889, when the village board received a petition from concerned citizens to form a hose company because fires flared up on a regular basis. 18 men were appointed as members. Frank was one of them, as well as Dolly's brothers, Joseph and John. I am assuming that this photo was taken later in Frank's life when he retired from firefighting. Frank was also involved in creating the village library, Dodge Memorial Library, and was on its board of directors. No photos of the library appear in the Pardy collection. Next slide, please. In this next picture, Frank documents some kind of work being done in the village. A water system was installed in October of 1890 to help fight fires. This could be that, or it could just be the new sidewalks, because eventually the village gets cement sidewalks. If anyone is familiar with road construction or has some idea of what this is, please let me know. Next slide, please. And the same thing here, if you happen to have any construction experience and you can maybe have some idea. Google had no answers. Next slide, please. Elephants regularly visited the village either to be used as advertisement, like in this instance, to announce a sale at laundries. Oh, laundry, sorry. The village enjoyed a fair and a cattle show every October 3rd and 4th as well. Next slide, please. Next slide. These elephants are grazing the old Rutland lot. Notice the other circus animals, camels over here. I believe these are horses. But you can tell the elephants are the forefront. Okay, next slide. This is a baseball team. I believe it's the Rouse's Point's own team. should have been around a little too. Next slide. This is the first of 3 slides of the military passing through Rouse's Point Village. The military came from the Plattsburgh barracks to practice. This is also around forward. One. So this is the military band here. I'm not quite sure if they're leaving or coming. Next. This one's really interesting with the armored car. The Women's Christian Temperance Union was a religious organization whose primary purpose was to combat the influence of alcohol on families and society. The organization was founded in 1873 in Ohio. The Rouse's Point Women's Christian Temperance was just one branch among many. It's just really interesting, the big hats. They wear. Fashion. Next. This is the flooding of Mars Dock. There used to be a bridge right here, and it just touches right here. Next slide, please. This is a photo illustrating part of the 1909 tricentenary celebration of the discovery of Lake Placid by Samuel D. Champlain. The 400th celebration occurred in 2009. They would have had people dressed as Indians. Now we'll be talking about Frank Pardy's travel and some photos. This is the Essex Inn. It is still in operation since 1810. According to the inn's website, the inn was built in stages. The first structure was erected in about 1810 in a federal style with a fire bay facade and triangular gable roof ends on both sides of the building, unlike the later front-facing Greek rival gable. Around 1835, a Greek revival colonnade was added to the front of the building, and the wooden columns that supported the 2 stories gave the building the look of a Greek temple. This is what Frank Pardy took pictures of. Interesting enough, the inn was used during the War of 1812 to house troops and espionage activity. Next slide. He went to Provincetown, Massachusetts, and it's near Boston. You can see his love of boats. Went as far as Boston, or near Boston. Next slide. Now, I don't know where this is, but I believe it's Albany. So if anyone recognizes Albany area, and maybe know for sure. Now, this is Brooklyn, New York. It's the Prospect Park. This is the Bethesda fountain, which features an 8-foot bronze angel sculpture designed by Emily Stebbins in 1868. The sculpture represents health, purity, temperance, and peace. Emily Stebbins was the first woman to receive a commission for a major work of art in New York City. Next slide, it gets a little closer. It's this right here. So I kind of wonder if Frank knew the story behind it. He knew the first woman commission, but who knows? Next slide. And then you made it to Bigman Town. Next slide. Now we'll be looking at my favorite pictures. This is a little more interesting for me, I guess. Now this one just makes me smile every time I see it. I immediately go for that hat, and then I just kind of my eye travels down to how his hands are positioned in his foot. Kind of reminds me of like a ballet dancer or something. This photo shows a nice depth of field by slightly blurring the background behind the boy, like just giving the viewer just enough information to know that they are still in town. I love this little boy's facial expression. Next slide. This is the stone store. This building can be found in Rouse's Point. According to Donna Racine, men with cars would race in town. I don't know if the guy in the middle is the winner or why there's two cars facing one way and the other one. Before I met with Donna, I thought they were just having a conversation in the middle of the road for some reason. Excellent. So it's a little different angle, but it looks like the same time and positioning. Next slide. This one also makes me laugh, just because of the dog. I just pictured nowadays dogs, being in the car and they get in the front seat. Now this one just has a beautiful composition, but again, I don't know where it is, so if anyone recognizes the area, please let me know. I love the clouds, I think this was like his focus, but he did a great job. There's a little church here. This is also an unknown location to me, so if you know, please let me know. It's a beautiful reflection. It completes the circle.
Say more.
Some more? Okay. Take it seriously. And he does have multiple of these in my collection, but this is the one that completed the circle. So this one's also unknown to me, if anyone recognizes it. I like the composition of the photo. There's something about clouds attract me. And you just feel like you could walk right onto the road and view the mountains yourself. Next slide. Now this one, I don't know if anyone can see it. I named the slide the Lion Cloud. If anyone can spot the lion, I'll show you in a minute. As soon as I saw this one on the computer screen, I was like, oh my god. So here it is. So I believe this is the head here, the mane, and his body kind of floats off. And this could be like prey over here, I don't know. Now this is also unknown to me, but it's very interesting with the rocks here, the formation naturally, and then the man-made formation here. And then again, he has a love for reflections. Yeah. This is an image of two women that look to be related, possibly sisters. I was not able to identify these women. From the photo, you would get a sense that the women like to have fun. I mean, they do have serious faces, but the way they're positioned, just, I don't know. I don't have a sense that they like to be silly once in a while. Next slide. These are the same two women. Well, I believe so. From the photo from the previous photo. And I hope you spotted them up here. I didn't at first. Took me a couple minutes. I was like, why did Frank take a picture of this house? What's so interesting? And then I saw it. Next slide. This is a portrait shot of an unknown woman. There are multiple versions of these in the Frank Pardy collection. The next slide shows the same setup, but different woman. I also ask that if you know this woman or the next woman, please speak up. So you can see between the two of them that he had like a backdrop here, but it didn't apparently work for, he must have had him too close, he needed a bigger backdrop. I just love her face though. Okay. This is a group shot of people with dollies sitting in a car in front of the Pardy store. If you look closely, the girl is making an interesting face that I found amusing. She's like trying not to laugh or something, and she's looking at maybe her mother. This is a group shot of some young girls in town. I think even though the parties didn't have any children, didn't have any children of their own, they like children. And they must have get those kids to stand there that long. I wonder if he has to offer them any candy. Now I call this one the fishtail. This is a photo where what I presume is a person telling a fish tale. Look at the photo, you can see that the foreground is blurry while the background is sharp. And I don't know if he did that on purpose. I thought it was supposed to be a signal. Just imagine how big that fish must have been. This is the Iris 2, built by Edgar Peters and Fred Hope. Fred owns the boat. I just like the reflection on the rocks here, and just the composition. This is kind of a classic, a person taking a picture of a person taking a picture. And again, there's the reflections here. I just wonder if he was on the water as well. This is an interesting photo of a ferry boat. Just look at all the people and the guy on the roof. It looks as though the boat could sink from the weight. I mean, you would imagine. It's a little side heavy over here, maybe. I don't know much about boats, though. The little boat in the back doesn't seem enough to save them all, though.
Yeah.
This is also an interesting composition of boats. I liked how we had the poles here. They don't appear to know we took the picture. And the other way. Next. This was a neat picture for me because I've never seen any canal boats before. I didn't even know there was a canal nearby. Next slide. These are two men on horseback identified as Fred Swinburne and Joe Casey. This photo is interesting because of the contrasting transportation, the horse and buggy versus the motor car. This photo makes me smile and kind of laugh over time because I'll just give you a moment to look at it and see if you see what I see. Okay, so the man here, he looks like he's attached. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that commercial with the motor, the guy, the muscles, and he's attached, and he's supposed to be the centaur, but like the motorcycle. So it looks like the first version that was made. I feel like they should give Frank Pardy the credit, you know? Because you can't see his legs. I'm not quite sure if he's in there or not. I just love that he's in a pipe and he's looking at the camera. And this one just contains an adorable child. Just pointing out from distance. Next slide. This is an interesting photo. The man appears to be either sitting in the boat or standing next to the boat, and he's drinking what could be alcohol. But that's my imagination working, so. Excellent. I also like the composition of this one. Even though it's in winter, it's still a nice photo. I like the contrast between the dark and the light of the snow and the barn board and the bark. Now this one also makes me smile every time I look at it. I just think of how cute that cow is. It was also a nice shot, the landscape, I guess. We just had to have the cow in there. You see how we could have cut it a little closer. And moved back just enough to have the cow. Now this is a beautiful shot. I love the contrast and the lighting in this picture. How the light bounces off the water. And it comes in just from the source and disappears to just come in here. Slow down. He had a lot of these in the collection. Lots of landscapes and waterfalls. Excellent. This is a farm at an unknown location. Again, that's a hint. If you know where it is, let me know. This one drew my eye because of how the tree fills the frame. It almost touches trees. So. This picture contains 2 cats. I almost didn't spot them at first. Again, I don't know the location. So if you look there, you recognize it, you can let me know. And if you did spot the cats, they're right there. Next picture. So these are ones that specifically I have no clue. And I kind of like them, but I'm hoping maybe you have an idea. I don't even know if it's in Rouse's Point. This is a man, he appears frequently in Frank's collection. At first I thought it was Frank himself, but then Donna told me he wasn't. So that got straightened out, but then he's still a mystery man. This is another photo that if anyone knows the location of, please name it. But I like the reflection here.
I would guess that's maybe a canal
Yes.
with a towpath on the side.
Next slide. This is a photo of what I believe is a country club, if anyone knows. It looks like there's some valleys here. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, so what was the condition of the glass plate negatives? And then what did you do with them? How did you get into your process?
Okay. So it wasn't, some of them were better than others. Some of them started to peel. They're the emulsion on the back. There was one box that got wet, must have been a flood or something. And someone kind of helped off. Like they took the plates and they wet them again and they tried to scrape off as best they could. And quite a few of them are in very good condition. There were a few of them that just really stuck on there and all you saw was fuzz. Otherwise, they were really good condition, and I just kind of touched up the lighting a little bit, make it like darker, deeper in the shadow areas, white areas, make sure it wasn't too blown out. And then I just gave them a number, put them back in the box, gave a description, best that I could. Most of the time was unknown, or just landscape, he has a lot of those. But then, yeah, it's cataloged at the museum now.
Was he a professional photographer?
I would say he was. What's professional? Someone who picks up a camera, right? And they sell their stuff, and he sold postcards. So I would consider him a professional.
Did he ever, was there a lot of pictures of the town itself of Ross's Point, like downtown streets? Was there a lot in the 400, a lot of?
There were a few in the first part I took, but there were a lot of the same angles, because it seemed like mostly he stayed by his store, the front.
Okay.
And he kind of set up the camera, and he adjusted as he would, or he'd take it out in the back, like it appeared to be. I don't know, I only went to Ross's Point a couple times. Any other questions?
You're right, Alex, I want to compliment you on that, but I would say that in Ross's Point, about 90 to 95% of the pictures we have, and we have a lot of them, were taken by Frank Pardy. And a lot of your locations there are in front of his store. And those children that lined up around the post are in front of his store. And I'll give you a point of reference. I call it white porches, and it's still in its original condition. It's the one building in Ross's Point that has maintained its integrity. And white porches is just to the north of those children. Not the boy with the bicycle. Now, I know a lot of people in Ross's Point who want to look at that bicycle. But the second picture of the boy standing alone, that's Buster Sebring, or Saborn, rather. Buster Saborn, he lived in Ross's Point for years. I think worked for the Sheriff's Department. And then in those to identify, the man alone is Joe Turner, Frank Pardy's oldest brother-in-law. Different ones. I'm looking for Elizabeth Turner. I have pictures of her from the neck down. I was watching to see if I could see something of hers. And the house, the building that you have out in the open with that large tree in front of it, is the caretaker's house at Fort Montgomery. And there are different ones, if I could just put my magnifying glass over and look at the man with the car in front of Frank with a single car with a pipe is Peter Sebring. Who's fun. And then one of them you have a foot of Pratt Street. That would have been the Sebring garage, and they sold gas. They rented hearses. They rented horses. It was that combination during the transition period. You had some, and he had an eye. Think of the equipment this man was working with in the 20s. Well, not the 20s. He started around early. Oh God, we have some from like 1905, 1907, and the equipment they work with today. And look at the moons he caught. Now your elephants. I can tell you why the elephants are there. They weren't brought to Ross's Point especially. The circuses would travel from New York, Albany, heading north to Montreal, and eventually Quebec City. And inevitably, the paperwork or the vet at the border would stop them. And where would they go? They had to be pastured, they had to be whatever. And the businessmen in Ross's Point put on a parade as just as fast as that. And talking to Sister Ruth Sebring, I think you probably all remember her from here. Her father brought the circus home one year to Chatham Street, and my father brought the circus home one year to Elm Street, because there was a lot of land there. And he fed the tigers, and the elephants would be chained, and they would keep hoses running constantly into troughs, because when they would drink, they'd wash themselves with water going back, and so on and so forth. And every child in town would either go to Chatham Street, where the circus was there, or Elm Street, and they'd get free pony rides, the dogs would play tricks. Being a border village had its advantages in the past. But when you're looking at Main Street, Alex, look for white porches. It's still there. If you ever come back to Ross's Point, take a look at it. It's Ray's Spot Appliance Store now, those white porches. Fantastic job, Alex.
Thank you.
questions? Thank you very much.
You're never quite ready, but we're chatting now with Donna Racine, village historian for many years now, Donna. Rouse's Point historian.
Almost 20.
Almost 20. It sounds like 19.
Well, I worked at it before I was sworn in.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
You followed Don O'Boyle, as I recall.
I did, yes.
All right. Now, let's see.
Hard act to follow.
Yes. Like you, Don was very devoted to, and we should point out that's D-A-W-N, so Don is a lady. Was a lady.
Absolutely a lady.
Yeah.
Native Rouse's Pointer.
Like yourself.
The first appointed historian in Rouse's Point, actually.
Oh, really?
First one appointed, yeah.
Well, they chose wisely. So they've chose wisely twice then, right?
Oh, you are a rascal.
Yeah. How'd you get down here up here to Plattsburgh today?
Your illustrious brother-in-law sitting right there,
brother-in-law,
Ben
yeah.
Arnold. We were here 2 weeks ago in spite of the storm.
You came anyway?
Oh, and I said, well, what
There
if...
was nobody here? You came?
No, I said, what if it's canceled? He said, we'll go out and eat. So how do you get an old historian out?
You
Take
go
her out and
take
feed her.
to eat? All right. He promised you a round trip, I hope.
Calvin, I didn't think of that. It's not in the contract, is it, Benny?
No contract. Uh-oh.
Well, I know how to use a phone. I'll get, one way or another, if I've got to swim, I'll get back to Rouse's Point.
Now, how many of these, I know there's a lot of postcards with the Frank Pardy postcards. I expected to see a few of these in here, but you've got some of those in your collection there in Rouse's Point, I'm sure. Some great scenes of the old
Some of the,
Lake Street, all dirt.
more exclusive postcards, I don't know how to put it, or those that weather the best, are made in Germany.
Yes.
And that's where Frank had his
Right.
printed. Right. Yeah, Frank Pardy.
Now, where is his store today? Where is that location?
It's right next door to, I was going to say Elmer Bullis's hardware store, but that's long gone.
Coffee shop.
Yeah, the coffee shop is south of it, right?
Yes.
And right is Vicky's Heads Up or something is north of it.
What's in there now?
What is in there?
Gary Babby's wife's,
No, in Frank Pardy, her store, Adirondack Collections or something like that.
Yes.
But what's next door to a Heads Up?
Okay, so it's where Adirondack Collections is now?
I know the Heads Up building is like around 105 Lake, so it's in that area right there. And it looks very much the way it did back then. And she has a full window. She has a good display there. And Frank could fill a window. You saw that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he could fill his store. Oh, yeah. And he liked gadgets. And maybe because he didn't raise a family, he had a lot of spare time. But he was a mood photographer. And he could bring the sky alive. If the storm was coming, you could feel it in his pictures. And if a child was an imp, you knew it in a Frank Pardy picture. You know, it was like, and Dolly did drive. In fact, Dolly's last drive was to the D&H station to drop off relatives, and she'd been busy all day. And she had a headache, and she drove to State Street, 59 State, where the Turner home was. She went home. Her brother and sister were there. And she fell ill. She passed out. They called Dr. Rimmelard, and Dolly was gone. 1933, August. Just as fast as that.
So you got, I'm sure, family members who knew the Pardys and so on. You're a little too young to have known them personally.
No, but I'm very fortunate to have known Captain John Turner, Dolly, the youngest of the Turner family, Dolly's brother. In fact, he graduated, I think we think about this one, Columbia University School of Sibley School of Engineering, 1895. Captain Turner, lifetime Coast Guard. Retired in 1930 because Elizabeth was now alone at home, the sister. His brother had died.
So is that the Turner family that's still in Rouse's Point?
No.
No, it's a different.
There aren't any of this
Of that.
particular family. Yeah. And my grandfather was a Civil War buff, so he had in the liquor store. Of course, I should be a drunk or a souse
Well,
by now.
laundry, with the laundry name, yeah.
Yeah, no, that, but taught to read in the liquor store. Come on, Calvin. Today that would be child abuse, right? But he did the Civil War with me. He taught me as I taught my students. No one ever wins a war. Oh, didn't they win the war or didn't they lose it? Oh, did they? Who won? Who wins? Whether it was blue or gray, right, Calvin?
Mhm.
Whoever dropped was American. They were fathers, sons, nephews. There was an empty there. So no one ever wins. That was Grandpa in the Civil War. And Captain Turner was just plain history, but Ross's Point, big, and Fort Montgomery, big time. So when he'd go to the liquor store, he'd walk down State Street, very straight, bow tie, maroon cardigan sweater, a homely man who was absolutely wonderful looking when he smiled, because it was real. He didn't smile because somebody said, smile, I'm taking your picture, you know. And he would be there, and my grandfather would send Clyde Lemoy at the taxi. They'd bring me to the store, and I'd get a history lesson. Want to talk about conditioning?
So you started young as a historian.
Yes, and so I knew Frank Pardy's brother-in-law. And it's neat when you don't have to wonder what a person's like because you can peg them. You know, you can put them there.
Okay, now we know the photos that this young lady scanned are available at the Clinton County Historical Association. What's available for the Pardy, P-A-R-D-Y family?
Well, as I said,
in your
I bet you
office?
above 90% of what we've got is Frank Pardy
Oh, yeah,
pictures
Yes.
that we've collected.
yes.
And it's his fault because Benny's in charge of collecting pictures. A needle in a haystack, Benny's a picture in a haystack.
Uh-huh.
And
He's taken a lot of pictures himself, but
He has.
he's a big collector.
well, what we've collected of Old Ross's Point is, and like I say, he must have started before 1907 because he's got pictures of the Massachusetts house when it was where the Myers building is now, and that was built in 1907. So you peg back and forth like that. And he seldom, we've got some at the Turner home on State Street where Jim Giroux lives today. And so he must have gone up and the dog in the car, we've got pictures of that dog there so we can tell, even though it's the side of the house.
You can tell that's
Right, and the Sister Elizabeth is standing in the door and we've got her from the neck down. I would give copies of your pictures away to get a face view, a shot of Elizabeth Turner.
okay. So when is the Rouse's Point Historian's Office available to the public?
At the present time, carved in stone is Thursday.
Thursday,
And I'm there 10 till I'm not needed anymore.
10 to whenever.
Right, the building closes down at 4, so you would have a hard time getting in. But I've been there till 9, actually, at times, depending on who's visiting or, yeah, and more people come in. I would sometimes, well, I will again do it, would go in on Tuesday, but I would call it my me day. Projects I was working on, but it was my public day is Thursday.
Okay.
You leaving?
All righty. Well, Jerry's
Jerry.
gonna. I got to see Jerry Fabro before she leaves, so
Well-
we appreciate you talking with us.
Well, thank
Ben's
you.
gonna leave you if we don't.
Ben will never leave me,
No, he'll never leave.
no.
because he can't identify his pictures without me.
That's right, that's right. And we just got some nice ones of the Cokes block.
The Coke's block. Okay.
Oh, you got some more of the Coats block?
No, the ones I gave you.
And that woman that came and talked to me, her grandmother lived in the Coats block.
There we go. All right, we're going to wrap it up here, and thanks for watching and supporting Hometown Cable as I try to adjust this this camera. January 30th, 2020.